I'd like to take this opportunity to thank from the bottom of my heart all of the frontline workers who have braved through the conditions of this last year. After all, this is the Working for Workers Act. The grocery store and convenience store clerks, the pharmacists and cashiers at the drugstore, the truck drivers and logistics managers who ensured that food and other staples were delivered to our communities. The list goes on and on, but these essential workers were there when we needed them the most. And, Mr. Speaker, it's far beyond time that the province and their provincial government be there for them. You know, this is called the Working for Workers Act, and as the member from Ottawa South mentioned, it might be considered an oxymoron. And we've seen recently, Mr. Speaker, that the government is focusing a lot of attention, a lot of time and energy on trying to undo many of their shortcomings, undo many of the mistakes that they made when they first came into office, Mr. Speaker. It's back to the future. They're correcting all the irrevocable damage, or they're trying to, that their own actions created upon taking office. Remember, this was the government that cancelled the $15 minimum wage 3 years ago, Mr. Speaker. They said that it would drive away jobs, and we know that not to be true. They had an option, Mr. Speaker, they had the option to allow workers' pay to stay in line with inflation, and they chose to ignore that option, Mr. Speaker. In fact, they chose to roll that pay back. That decision took $6,200 out of the pockets of hardworking Ontarians, Mr. Speaker. Now, $6,200 may not be a lot of money to the Premier and his friends, and in fairness, it may not be a lot of money to most of us in this room. But $6,200 to the single mom with 2 kids working 2 jobs is a lot of money. And over the last 3 years, the costs of living in our province have skyrocketed. Gas for your car is up. Groceries are up. The cost of housing is up. Everything you need to provide basic quality of life for your family is up. And the intention to the government on this issue is down. That's a problem, Mr. Speaker. So $6,200 would have gone a long way to help those people working on the front lines, those essential workers that the Premier has spent the last 18 months, 19 months trying to thank. But actions speak louder than words, Mr. Speaker, and as the old saying goes, money is even louder. $6,200 is a lot of money. It's money that could have put food on the table. It's money that could have kept a roof over their head. It's money that would have helped minimum wage earners survive, Mr. Speaker, especially these last 19 months. As has been said, for the better part of 3 years, the government attacked frontline workers, essential workers. They didn't need them. They didn't think they needed them. Now, at the 11th hour, with an election around the way, they're trying to finally win them over. I'd like to spend just a little bit of time on one element of the bill that I don't think has been spoken about so far, which is the access to washroom provisions. This is very good, except for an important and critical group of employees has been left out. Our transit operators work all day long, getting us from where we are to where we want to be, to work, to school, to errands, to appointments. They should be included in this legislation, Mr. Speaker, especially because they often start in parts of our communities that don't have employer-provided. They don't have employer-provided washrooms at the beginning and end of the routes, Mr. Speaker, and popping into the coffee shop, popping in to that local business may be the only opportunity they have to relieve themselves throughout the day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.